Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the previous episode, which I've linked down in the description below, we tried out a really fun team centered around Gredeent as well as Bellydrum. So we'll be playing a couple more matches with it today. Once again, thank you to Adam for the team, and details for the team are in the description below, including a rental and a paste if you want to try it out yourselves. It's the start of a brand new ranked season, so just trying to get to Master Ball tier today with this team and see how far we can take it. But I really appreciate you all as always for watching, and it's always fun to mix things up a little bit here on Road to Ranked and try out some very unorthodox Pokemon. So yeah, if you do enjoy, please show your support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, with it being a brand new ranked season, I'm curious what your goals for the season are. And for me, it's always the same, just feature as many cool teams as possible, and showcase a mix of very strong meta teams as well as just fun, very unorthodox teams. So let's get started. First game of the day, and we're up against Ho-Oh plus Dialga with Urshifu, Indeedee, Jellicent, and Grimmsnarl. Okay, definitely a very interesting restricted duo. I'm wondering if I can get away with Greedent stuff here, and I do think Greedent, Indeedee, Calyrex, Zacian, the standard is decently strong here. The main thing to worry about is like Dynamax Ho-Oh, because Zacian can't deal very much damage into it. I think Rillaboom's pretty poor into this matchup, given that my opponent's restricteds are Ho-Oh and Dialga. And you could actually make a decent argument for Thundurus here, but once again, you only use Greedent once, so I want to max Greedent over the Thundurus in this matchup. Because plus 6 Greedent, especially, like, this is a game where Speed Swap, I think, is actually more doable, rather than some of the other games we've featured with this team, mainly because my opponent doesn't have super fast Pokemon like Regieleki or Calyrex Shadow Rider or Tailwind from Whimsicott or Tornadus, for example. So you combine all of those factors, and that makes me feel, more comfortable going this route. But Ho-Oh and Dialga is definitely a cool restricted duo. Jellicent's a Pokemon that we have not seen in a long time. You can use moves like Will-O-Wisp, Water Spout, Shadow Ball, Trick Room, Sap Sipper. So wide variety of attacks there. Or sorry, not Sap Sipper. I was like Strength Sap. That's what I was thinking of. Let's see. That's Grim and Jellicent. Okay. Against Greedent plus Greedent. I think I called it Greedent pretty much the entire previous episode, so I apologize. I don't even know where that habit came from. I mean, the one scary thing here is if Jellicent has a Water Spout on turn 1. The other question is, instead of going for Follow Me, I could actually just nah. It doesn't make sense to go for anything else. Heal Pulse doesn't work since Greedent would move after Indeedee, so turn 1, I think I will just Follow Me Bellydrum, and we'll see if they have Water Spout on Jellicent. Huh? Is it Grim maxing or if it's Jellicent maxing, this is actually not a problem at all, but holy cow. Oh, wow. Okay, I would not have predicted that. Basically ever. And it's not G-Max Grim either, so you could just max Darkness in a Water Spout. Oh my god. That is very cool, and unfortunately, Greedent will fall here. Oh, it's actually Surf, though, rather than... What?! I'm so confused. It's a checked button. What? I mean, it went from this game is lost on turn 1 to, hey, we're actually in a pretty good spot now, but I'm just trying to understand that turn 1. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if my opponent, like, the Grimmsnarl is not meant to be offensive, right? And it's actually, like, Trick with the eject button. But my opponent was like, you know what? I want to one-shot the Indeedee on turn 1. And I mean, if Jellicent had Water Spout there or anything other than Surf, like, even if you just didn't force your own restricted out, I feel like you'd actually be in a great spot. I'm just flabbergasted. But I honestly think now we're in a really prime position because I can just bring in Calyrex now. I can speed swap onto Gredeent and max Quake into Dialga. Now, maybe there's Will-O-Wisp from Jellicent, but that's okay. I have just never seen a turn 1 like that. Like, Max Grim one-shots Indeedee, but then they have Surf to eject their own Grimmsnarl out, thus wasting the rest of their Dynamax. I thought it was going to be like Absorbable Grimmsnarl or something there when I saw the Surf come out. And if it were Absorbable, it's like fine, right? I bring out Calyrex, I'd Speed Swap, and then I would just Max Strike into the Grimmsnarl slot, so I honestly don't think we'd be in bad shape, honestly, but now my opponent doesn't have a Dynamax to use, so I'll take it. Man, Ultra Ball games are just wild, though, I have to say. Like, and then a loss for words. Okay, successfully speed swap. I was a little bit nervous about Dialga switching out into Ho-Oh there, but fortunately they don't. So Gredeent gets the Max Quake off. One-shots Dialga. And more importantly, gets a special defense boost here, so I won't take that much damage from Jellicent. Jellicent here could go for Trick Room, could go for Will-O-Wisp, could go for Strength Sap. Those are all viable options for it here. And it is going to be Strength Sap. Okay. But the thing is, yeah, now you brought me down to +5, right? Like, Greedent's still in a fine spot, and I'm not really going to worry about Jellicent's damage output at the moment. I can probably just switch the Calyrex out here. Zacian's actually not that important in this game, given if their remainder one is Ho-Oh, which it is, yeah. Okay, with the Ho-Oh here, like, I am down to just Max Strike into the Ho-Oh slot. And I do want to switch out into Zacian right now. Actually, I think it's interesting to stay in with Calyrex because, like, if they Trick Room, my Calyrex will actually outspeed them under Trick Room. So I'm actually down to just click Astral Barrage right now. And they actually switch Ho-Oh out. Okay. Into Grim. Makes sense. Bait out some damage from my end. That turn 1 was just, like, it went from I'm about to lose the game to, okay. I just don't really understand the Surf, but maybe they just don't have any other attacks, honestly. Are they trying to Trick Room with Jellicent here? It looks like it, right? Unless Jellicent's actually that slow. Focus Sash. Wow. Interesting. Is it Trick Rooming? So now what we can do is, I was going to say Speed Swap back onto the Greedent, but this turn I'm actually down to just Astro Barrage, right? The other play we can make here is Speed Swap so that Greedent's slower once again, and then, they're at -1 speed anyway, so they actually probably outspeed Calyrex. Okay, yeah, I'm down to Strike into Ho-Oh and then swap to make Greedent slow again. Does that make sense? Like, is it fine to just Max Strike and Astral Barrage right now? I actually kind of like Max Guard here, although I guess they could double up onto Calyrex. No, Max Guard is fine. And the reason for that is because Astral Barrage will one-shot Jellicent, and we should outspeed Ho-Oh under Trick Room right now. Oh, okay, we are just faster than Jellicent. I wasn't sure about it just because they had that speed drop, but this game demonstrates how Speed Swap can be really interesting as an attack, right? Jellicent faints. We get a special attack boost. At this point, I might not even need to swap the speed back onto Greedent, because we just have +1 Astral Barrage, and that's actually more consistent than potentially missing a Giga Impact here. And 2 Astral Barrages should KO Ho-Oh here. Like, what I don't want to do is Speed Swap onto Greedent and then miss Giga Impact, and then suddenly, like, Calyrex is fast again, right? So we can just Giga Impact here. And now that it's +1 Astral Barrage, like 2 Astral Barrages should KO Ho-Oh anyway. So I have to say, this was, I just have no idea what I was, like, that turn 1 was like, oh my gosh, I'm literally about to lose the game, but fortunately Jellicent didn't have, like, Water Spout, and even after the special defense boost, like, Greedent actually didn't take really any damage there. So, I am so curious about this team. Okay, so it was eject button. So they had Sucker Punch and Spirit Break, and it was max attack, max speed. That's so interesting. I just wonder if they like forgot about their own eject button. I don't know, or maybe they were fine like forcing themselves out if they got a KO into Indeedee and then think about the fact that like I could speed swap. So Focus Sash, Jellicent, max HP, max defense, Endure, Trick Room, Surf, Strength Zap. Okay, so that makes sense as to why they basically did no damage into Gredeent. There was an Absorb Bulb on the team, but it was not on the Grimmsnarl. It was actually on Dialga. Very interesting. So Thunder, Roar of Time, Steel Beam, Blizzard, Absorb Bulb, Citrus Berry, Ho-Oh, Protect, Recover, Brave Bird, Sacred Fire. Yep. Choice Scarf on Urshifu. It is Adamant, which makes sense. Interesting enough, there is still Detect, but it makes sense so that you can max Urshifu and then have one move to max guard with. And then Colbert with Safeguard here on Indeedee, so this is kind of nice for anti-Amoonguss stuff. So yeah, I'm just curious about my opponent's logic on that turn 1 play, but I guess they were like, okay, I can't really do anything. I think they didn't need to Surf, right? Like, if you have Grimmsnarl out for another couple of turns, it can pose a threat. But I guess like they couldn't really Trick Room there either, because if you Trick Room, then the Greedent actually just outspeeds my opponent's entire team under Trick Room. So it was a weird one where they didn't really have great speed control. And that's exactly why like I figured Calyrex with speed swap stuff could be really good here. But yeah, I mean that turn 1 is definitely one of the like most mind-blowing turn 1s I've ever gone up against, where it's like opponent has a surprise Dynamax, gets a big KO, but then forces themselves out as well. So yeah. Anyway, I played a bunch of games, you know, between yesterday and today, so we now are in Master Ball tier. So let's finish up our time with Greedent with a couple games in Master. Next game here, and we are up against Prince. We featured a bunch of their teams on the channel. They're always very high up on the ladder, and they've got a Hyper Offense Kartana Kyogre team here. So this team has a lot of nightmares for Greedent. It has Tailwind, it has spread type damage via Kyogre. So we've showcased Greedent in every game so far, but I really think that this is the kind of matchup where we actually just have to cut our losses and not bring it at all. And Thundurus is a lot better for a matchup like this, but there's still a lot of barriers, right? Like Raichu causes some problems. I think Kartana's a really solid Dynamax option on their end. I guess one option to consider is like actually setting up Trick Room with Calyrex Shadow Rider. That's like low-key a little interesting, but I think matchup-wise here, Greedent offers me very little. Raichu Kyogre lead is scary. Kartana lead is scary. I think I'm going to go Thundurus, Calyrex, Zacian, Rillaboom. And one thing that's important is, you know, when I use a team, like I've been playing the same mode basically every game so far that we've used this team, and it's important to highlight why Thundurus and Rillaboom exist on this team, right? It is, those Pokemon are very helpful for the rain matchup here. That being said, I still think this is actually a pretty negative matchup overall because they just have the speed advantage with potential Tornadus stuff. So it is going to be Raichu plus Kyogre. Okay. I'm generally okay with this, but one of the big questions I have is the Kyogre. Like, do you Dynamax on turn 1? Like, the upside against fighting against Raichu right now is I can turn 1 just go for, like, Dynamax. This is where Eerie Impulse actually I think is... it would be so sick, but they have Raichu out on the field, right? Because I kind of expect Kyogre to Dynamax here and then Geyser into the Thundurus slot. So, like, I want to switch out into Rillaboom and Astral Barrage here. The other play I was thinking is, like, just Max Thundurus and then Knuckle Astral Barrage into the Raichu slot. I also could have protected Calyrex turn 1 because there's a chance my opponent just doubles up onto a Calyrex slot instead. They do max Kyogre, which I actually think is a good thing for me because let's say Calyrex faints now, then I bring in Thundurus and I can just Grassy Glide Raichu and either Eerie Impulse or just Max Lightning into the Kyogre slot. What if I just led Rillaboom? That would have been solid, but then they could just pivot Kyogre out into Kartana or Zacian on turn 1. Okay, it's Helping Hand. Oh, but that might be a Hailstorm rather than a Geyser. Yeah, which would not be good news for me. It's great damage on a Raichu, though. Okay, it is Hailstorm. Yeah, nice play. I didn't have any way around that, and I mean, I guess I could have clicked Fly with Thundurus. That actually would have been really sick, now that I think about it. But in the grand scheme of things, I actually don't think that turn is that bad for us here. What gets interesting is the, like, Tornadus that's probably in the back for my opponent right now. Because with Tornadus, you can just Dynamax, or sorry, you can Tailwind. Right now, it's pretty easy for me to just bring Thundurus and then just, like, Dynamax Thundurus, Max Lightning, Astral Barrage. To which I would expect them to Max Guard Kyogre and sacrifice Raichu to get a free switch in into either Zacian or Tornadus. I could bring out Zacian right now. Pressure with Astral Barrage into Behemoth Blade. Okay, I think I'm going to go into Thundurus. I mean, that turn one wasn't terrible because, like, the alternative was me Dynamaxing Thundurus and just losing it potentially to a Helping Hand Hailstorm turn one, and that's disastrous. I guess the other interesting question is, like, how much speed Kyogre has here. I think I will just Dynamax and Lightning into Astral Barrage here. I feel like there was a better line to take in this game, but I'm not sure what it was. I guess if Raichu is Protect here as well, that causes some issues, because you could just actually Protect and then Astral Barrage would not KO Raichu. I don't think Protect is that common on Raichu, so that's a bet that I'm willing to make right now, but we'll see. Either way, though, yeah, there was no way I think Gredeent could have come out in this matchup. Okay, so they don't switch out. Best case is I just get a double KO right now, right? Kyogre doesn't Protect, Astro gets the knockout, Lightning gets redirected into Kyogre, picks up that KO. But I expect Kyogre Max Guard here, Raichu Sacrifice. So then, like, to get around that, it would have been interesting to Airstream the Raichu slot instead, to get a speed boost on both of my Mons. Oh, wow, neither Pokemon Protect, though. Okay, that's exactly what I was hoping for. I mean, that's amazing. Okay. Here's Max Lightning onto Kyogre. Is it bulky enough to take this? I wouldn't expect it to, but yeah. Wow. Sweet. I was not expecting to pick up a double KO. Like, in my head, it was going to be Kyogre Max Guard, sack Raichu, bring in Tornadus, Tailwind, and then Kyogre gets a Max move off. And on its final turn of Dynamax, but even in that situation, it's not that bad because it can't one-shot Calyrex given the Focus Sash. Although now, actually, because of Hail and the lack of grassy terrain, never mind, it would get the KO, right? Yeah. Yeah, that would have caused some problems. It's still not won yet either, but that turn played out better than I expected it to. It's actually no Tornadus, it's Incin instead. Okay, wow. Cool. So that'll activate Defiant. And I still have my Zacian in the back as well, which is obviously very handy. Calyrex does not have to care about Fake Out here. I think the best play really is to just Airstream Incin and Astral Barrage. I wonder if... Nah, I don't know if I was thinking of Speed Swap there. Like, there's no way Behemoth Blade KOs Thundurus here, right? And so the idea of going for this play is that I cover for Zacian protecting this turn, as Incin goes for, like, a Dark-type attack on a Calyrex. Yep, they're going to Blade into Thundurus, and we survive. Cool. Yeah, the lack of Tornadus in the back here was a really big deal. And, like, sacrificing Rillaboom to get that chip damage onto the Kyogre was really important, and not losing Thundurus on turn 1 was really critical in this game. I do get a crit there. That may have mattered, but I don't... It may have mattered as to whether or not we get the KO, but I don't think even if... Like, Incin could only knock out one of my two Pokemon here, right? And either Pokemon would outspeed my opponents at next turn thanks to the speed boost. So, if you KO the Calyrex, okay, sure, fine. I just bring out Zacian and then just Airstream into Behemoth Blade. And if you KO the Thundurus, then Calyrex just Astral Barrages next turn anyway. So... this is an example of a game where, you know, while Greedent does exist on the team, we can't get that much mileage out of it, so we just have to take the L and unfortunately not bring it. And one important part of Pokemon is assessing when it's like the right time to bring a Pokemon and when it's not the right time to bring out a Pokemon. So yeah. Either way, though, I'm glad to feature why Thundurus and Rillaboom exist on this team, right? And so turn 1 was a really important turn, by the way, because if I had just Dynamaxed Thundurus and gotten aggressive and tried to KO Raichu, I probably would have lost the game to the Helping Hand Hailstorm immediately. Because once you eliminate Thundurus, it opens the door for Incineroar as well. That makes a lot of sense as to why they brought it, given that the restricted duo on this team is Zacian plus Calyrex Shadow Rider. So even though we lost Rillaboom on turn 1, it was actually a very favorable trade for me. And on turn 2, I just didn't expect to get a double knockout there. But because they had no Tornadus in the back, I think it makes sense. The best line there maybe then is to max guard Kyogre, which, by the way, Kyogre could be... Do we see the item on it? Because I was going to mention like Assault Vest is a possibility, but I don't know if it's AV given Astral Barrage's damage output onto it. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, though, yeah, because it was Incin and Zacian in the back, like there wasn't really a free opportunity to just like get something out that can give you good speed control. The best bet would have been to at least sack Raichu to bring in Zacian and then Behemoth Blade, but yeah. So Greedent stays on the bench for this one, but we do pull off a victory. All right, Oranguru, Calyrex Ice Rider. So I went up against this really crazy strat. It's not even the first time I've seen this strat, I guess, but it was like Whimsicott Xerneas, where they went Misty Explosion, Tailwind turn 1, and then you brought out a Oranguru Calyrex Ice Rider, Brutal Swing, Symbiosis onto the Calyrex Ice Rider, activate Policy, you give it Choice Band, and then just Glacial Lance, Glacial Lance, Glacial Lance. So like, there could be something like that with my opponent's team here. Yeah, so that's the main thing I want to watch out for. This is a really cool team. Greedent. What can I do with you? I mean, what would be their version of that? Like, Explosion Landorus? Does it still get Explosion? I don't even know. Okay. I'm actually gonna go with Calyrex, Indeedee, Zacian, Greedent. I don't know about this one. Like, I guess the thing is I didn't feel comfortable just leading Greedent Indeedee, but I don't know what Calyrex Indeedee really provides me other than like anti-Trick Room stuff with Astral Barrage. Oh, sorry, with our own Trick Room. It also is like, yeah, I don't know. But when I see a Oranguru Calyrex Ice Rider, I immediately start panicking. Okay, it was Palkia plus Landorus-T. Greedent would have actually worked out here. Like, Indeedee Greedent, just follow me into Belly Drum, and then just go with the Calyrex. Now what happens? I could just Helping Hand Astral Barrage on turn 1 of this game. I could Trick Room. We expect Calyrex in the back, right? Yeah, maybe I should have just gone with Greedent here. What was I really worried about? I think I'm just a little bit traumatized because I got completely swept by that Xerneas Misty Explosion strat I was talking about. Turn 1, I'm down a Helping Hand and Astral Barrage. Okay, they're going to Dynamax. Man, Greedent lead here actually would have worked out really well into their lead. But I was nervous about Whimsicott with Tailwind stuff. I was nervous about the Trick Room potential from their end as well. Like, there were a lot of things to worry about, right? Oh, you know what it probably is? Scarf Landorus-T with Telepathy. Do we see Telepathy? I actually should have paid attention to that in the beginning of the game. Yeah. Yeah. With Bulldoze. Yikes. Although this means that even if I went with Greedent, this wouldn't have worked, right? Scarf Bulldoze actually just completely stops me in this matchup. Huh. Yeah, they do actually target Indeedee, so that gives us a fighting chance. That's actually huge. It's interesting to target Indeedee there because it just doesn't provide any offensive pressure at all. So we actually get a huge Astral Barrage as a result. Holy moly. Okay. I was not expecting that one shot. We'll take it. The interesting question now is, well, first of all, who do you bring out? Because if it's Calyrex Ice Rider, for example, like my Calyrex Shadow Rider will outspeed you, so then I can just go for Follow Me and Astral Barrage. This is like an interesting example of like why sometimes it's better to just like force your opponent to go for Follow Me. I think one thing that players often do is just target the redirection user, just expecting them to go for said redirection. The only thing I'm thinking about right now is like, do I want to switch out in case it's Choice Scarf, Calyrex Ice Rider, which is obviously pretty niche. I could also Dynamax my Calyrex right now. Wait, that actually I think might be the right play here. Because I've got Play Rough, and I'll get a defense drop here. Yeah, I'm actually going to Dynamax here. Because Phantasm will just one-shot Calyrex. We'll go for Follow Me here to sack the Indeedee, and then Zacian comes out. Because I don't think, like, Greedent... Ooh, is that a Oranguru coming in? Woo! Well done. Wow. That was a really good play by them. Okay. I still think it's fine. Because the thing is, I'll just get Zacian out. But, no, that actually causes a lot of issues. Wow, that's a very nice switch by them. Like, that's the one thing that stops me from winning the game immediately right now. I could have just gone Follow Me and, like, gone out into Zacian there. That also could have worked this turn. That's a great play by my opponent, though, so kudos to them for finding it. Yeah, I love the idea to bring out Calyrex just to bait me into trying to go for a ghost type. You know, it's funny, if I actually just clicked Astral Barrage here, we'd be in great shape as well. Because then, like, late game Greedent max becomes really interesting. Okay, so now we'll bring out Zacian. Play Rough will definitely KO Palkia. A little bit nervous about, like, a potential ally switch here. Also just thinking about switching Calyrex now, like, the only thing I can do is Astral Barrage here, and, like, they might just set up Trick Room on me. That was a great Oranguru switch in. I should have thought about that a little bit harder. I was willing to make that play because if you do anything other than switch out into Oranguru there, I feel like it just wins me the game. But they had it, so very nicely done. I really think I'm down to switch out into Greedent here. It's funny, like, we would have been better off not clicking Dynamax. Okay. I don't know if Behemoth Blade KOs Palkia from that range, so I'm just going to play Rough instead. I'll take the 90% chance to guarantee a knockout rather than not knowing a damage calc. And not knowing how bulky Palkia is. Okay, so Greedent's out. Play Rough connects, nice. And the idea behind switching there is, like, what is Calyrex going to do in that position anyway, right? It would just waste a max Phantasm, so I at least bring out something that can be a little bit scarier under Trick Room. But the thing is, I think now I still lose, like, the brutal swing stuff that I expect to happen right now. Yeah, like, they actually managed to get Trick Room up and Oranguru next to Calyrex Ice Rider. I gotta give my opponent props. Huge props in this one, because, like, I actually think the matchup is more skewed in my favor, thanks to us having Zacian, which is already pretty good into Palkia plus Calyrex. But in this game, like, I wasn't comfortable leading Indeedee Greedent, which is, you know, the bread and butter with this team. And, like I mentioned, I don't know if it actually would have worked out that well either. The main thing is the Oranguru Dynamax, or sorry, the Calyrex Dynamax, because if I didn't Dynamax it, I'd have a Greedent Dynamax right now, which would actually be really powerful. I guess the thing, though, is that you can't knock out Zacian that easily, right? So I'm actually down to Belly Drum here and Behemoth Blade, with the expectation that they can only knock out one Pokemon this turn. Okay, so Greedent does get Belly Drum off. It is the fastest Pokemon under Trick. Oh, but there's no Berry. Wait, but they just Anchored Greedent. Okay. I mean, Stomping shouldn't KO me here, right? Yeah, no way. Okay. And you're not Babiri either, so are we good? Unless it's Sash Calyrex Ice Rider. Yeah, okay, nice. I was so scared of Oranguru Calyrex here, but in the end, that turn was pretty underwhelming from their angle. So I wonder if like there was even a policy or a brutal swing there. And now Gredeent heals up all the way back to full. Yeah, this was an interesting one though, because I think if my opponent targeted the Calyrex slot turn 1, because I didn't think too much about the Scarf Bulldoze allowing Palkia to outspeed me. That lead is actually really oppressive. The solution against that, by the way, would be like Thundurus plus Zacian or Thundurus plus Calyrex. But it's kind of hard to feel confident leading Thundurus into this matchup, right? I guess I literally have to switch out here, otherwise I'm just going to KO myself. Okay, so we'll switch. If Oranguru has foul play, by the way, here, like I don't think it's actually out of question that it can pull off a comeback. But I think we just switch Greedent out and Behemoth Blade here, because I don't think a foul play KOs Zacian this turn anyway. Okay, they end up forfeiting. There was actually a chance that we could have choked that game away, I think. Like, if I stayed in with Greedent there and foul play crit KO Zacian, if they have it, you know, Greedent just spends the next 2 turns clicking Belly Drum, and then Calyrex actually can't hit the Oranguru because it only has Astral Barrage. So we have to go for practically... like the Calyrex is essentially useless, right? So the idea is, like, conserve Greedent so that it can get more attacks off, and then as long as Zacian gets 1 Behemoth Blade off in that endgame, we're also good. But, yeah. Anyway, this games definitely did not play out how I expected it to. But, yeah, we'll look for one final one here with this team. Wow, final one here, and okay, I can't help but think that there's something very similar going on here because they've got Snorlax, Indeedee, and Calyrex, so like, there's a decent chance that they're just Belly Drum into Follow Me, and then Speed Swap with Calyrex Shadow Rider. Okay. They also have Drampa, Jellicent, and Zacian. I love it, such cool stuff here, like, Drampa really nice to shut down weather teams in Kyogre and Groudon. I'm mainly thinking about how to, like, how do I deal with this Snorlax? Like, if we go Indeedee Greedent and we just play the Max Wars, how does that fare? I don't know how to beat Indeedee Snorlax easily here. Do we just both go with our Belly Drum setups then? I don't think Thundurus makes too much sense here. I think Rillaboom is interesting just for a priority Grassy Glide and terrain control, because like Rillaboom's pretty good into Indeedee and Calyrex Shadow Rider. It's not very good into Snorlax. So we'll see. Yeah, I think like if you want to use this Belly Drum setup strat, Snorlax is also a very good alternative. They're just going to go with Regieleki and Calyrex. Now, oh, this is a very good lead by them. Because Calyrex turns off Greedent right now. Turns off its abilities. Sorry, turns off the berry. And by turning off the berry, then I can't really get it going. So, I actually might be forced to just Dynamax Greedent here and like just Max Quake into Regieleki. Like the play I'm thinking of is just expanding Force here, break Sash, Dynamax Greedent, and then just Quake onto Jellicent. Max striking the Jellicent slot's also interesting because if you get the knockout onto Indeedee, they're going to Dynamax. If you get the knockout onto Indeedee, the other thing I didn't think about is Lightning, Max Lightning coming out from Jellicent, changing the terrain, thus making Expanding Force only single target. But they actually max Calyrex. Oh boy, that might just be Max Mindstorm onto Greedent then. In this game, I tried really hard to just like try to figure out how to beat their Snorlax combo that as a result, didn't do as good of a job leading against Jellicent Calyrex, but I don't know how I can cover for Jellicent Calyrex as well as Indeedee Snorlax. Like, if I have a lead that beats both of those definitively. I don't think there's a really good answer. So we'll see. Bruh. What? That's so cool. Normal gem explosion. You know the wild thing is if I actually just went for follow me here, because it's mine. Oh, it's what is happening? These turn ones in this episode today have been just bonkers. That's honestly not even that bad of a turn in the grand scheme of things. What the big question is, this next turn is basically like, can I win a speed tie between Calyrex? Because if I do, I actually think I just win the game. I think we have to go into Calyrex here because I've got the Focus Sash on it. You know what's funny? Like, that turn one actually was not that bad, all things considered. Like, Jellicent didn't actually do that much, and then they ended up targeting... Okay, they bring out their Zacian. I guess their Zacian still causes me a lot of trouble here. I mean, I'm obviously going to just Astral Barrage. Okay, the other thing to consider is actually clicking Trick Room with Calyrex right now, but I don't think that's the correct option. So right now, I want to assume I lose the Speed tie. If I lose the Speed tie, they can just max Psychic Greedent, or max Psychic, max Ghost Calyrex. I think I'm definitely Astral Barraging here. The question with Greedent is, do I want to consider max guarding? I've already revealed Max Quake. Max Strike is interesting, in case they like max guard Calyrex here, for example. And I don't necessarily mind Greedent fainting, in my opinion. So, in this position, if I lose the speed tie, that's obviously not good. I'm going for Strike here because I don't think Quake KOs Zacian anyway. And I managed to move first, okay. I'll take it. I mean, I think with that, I actually just win the game. Because, like, Zacian can only target one of two slots right now. And they're going to Blade into Calyrex. If they have priority in the back, they could still win this, I think. I wonder if Max Quick would have knocked out Zacian from the 50+% range that it's at. But getting a speed drop onto it is really essential because I've got the Zacian on my end waiting in the back. Okay. I think Quake would have gotten that KO. But the other thing to consider there was the possibility of Zacian protecting and getting a speed drop, guaranteed speed drop onto it felt valuable. Okay, their last one's Indeedee. Nice. So with Indeedee here, your play is to just protect Zacian, right? This game actually is not over yet, I think. Yeah, because they have Indeedee. Protect Zacian here to take the Astral Barrage. I think because I got that speed drop earlier, like, it's fine to play it safe here. And just go for Astral Barrage and a Max Strike. Because the thing is, like, my Zacian should take a Behemoth Blade from their Zacian. So the thing is, in this turn, I could have considered reading into the Zacian Protect, but let's say they don't Protect, and then they just Behemoth Blade to KO Greedent. Then that gets really bad, right? Because let's say you do get the KO onto Greedent with Behemoth Blade. Then what happens? Then the next turn, you can just protect your Zacian and then just Expanding Force with Indeedee, and that's really bad. In this situation, I get guaranteed damage onto Indeedee. I know that my Zacian now outspeeds both of my opponent's Pokemon, and so now I can just simply bring out Zacian and just Behemoth Blade the Zacian slot. It forces Indeedee to go for Follow Me. If Indeedee goes for Follow Me, fine, that's no problem. We KO it, and then Gyro Ball should just finish off the Zacian on their end. I guess that's my question, like, does Gyro Ball actually KO Zacian? Do I have to click Earthquake instead or Giga Impact instead? Because the other thing is, if I Earthquake, I actually will damage myself with Greedent. I guess they could also just, like, go for a double with Zacian right now. But I'm fine targeting Zacian because it went for Protect last turn. And I'll Gyro Ball into that slot too. Yeah, they just go for follow me. Cool. Because it's like, in this case, even if Gyro Ball didn't get the KO onto Zacian, they would also need a critical hit onto my Zacian as well. So it's like, the odds are super in my favor here. I don't know though, like, is Earthquake actually just the correct move there? Like, does it matter if I damage myself? What I was nervous about was like Zacian double protecting and then I EQ to put myself in KO range from a Behemoth Blade. That doesn't feel great. And they target my Zacian, but yeah, we have enough bulk to survive. Beautiful. That's why I was prioritizing those speed drops earlier. So this is an interesting game of flexibility, right? Where it's like, I did not actually manage to get like the main Greedent strategy off, but that's fine. I'm actually just so impressed by this team. It took me a lot of games to actually like understand how to use it, I think, and how to properly position Greedent. But once like something clicked, and then once it clicked, I was like, okay, now I understand it. But today's episode's fun because we just featured a wide variety of you know, ways that you can play with this team. So I'm curious on the Drampa set here. It was AV, Psychic Seed, Indeedee. Yep. So there's the Belly Drum. Self-Destruct, Facade High Horsepower, Focus Sash, Calyrex, Trick Room, Astral Barrage, Palm Puff, Speed Swap. If I lose the Speed tie in this game, I feel like I probably lose the game, and so that was a big deal. And then this Regieleki, Wild Charge, Explosion, Balance, Electro Web is absolutely bonkers. So, wow. That is just wild. Anyway, since we actually hit Master Ball tier with this team and we haven't lost yet, I want to keep it going until we win one. So we'll have a longer episode, but you know, I missed out on a lot of uploads while I was sick, and so I don't mind making a slightly longer one. So let's keep things going. Oh man, rank number 3 here. I wonder if this is Giovanni Costa, the amazing, wonderful human being who created the mini documentary that's on Wolfie's channel about me a while back. If so, that's really cool because yeah, you know, he was really good in 2016 and 2017. This looks like Marco Fierro's. No, there's no Grimmsnarl on the team. Okay, so Dialga, Zacian. Can I do anything with Greedent here? I don't think so. It's just hard because of Whimsicott. If they don't bring Whimsicott though, like it could actually be interesting. Urshifu Dialga lead really messes me up though, right? That causes a lot of issues. If they don't bring Whimsicott though, and there's like maybe a chance they don't, like Greedent could actually work. So, okay. Live or die by Greedent. I think Thundurus is interesting here because it's actually offensively very good into Whimsicott, Rillaboom, Urshifu, and Landorus-T if it comes out, which is Activate Defiant. And I don't... It's so weak into Dialga plus the Zacian combo, which I don't love. Ooh, it is Urshifu Dialga. That is the best lead they could have had against me here, I think. That is no good for me. I'm gonna have to deviate from my game plan then. I can't Belly Drum here successfully. How did I, like, what's my answer against Urshifu Dialga as a lead? Thundurus helps. Like Thundurus Zacian, I guess, because I can Knuckle into Behemoth Blade or even Sacred Sword. Yeah, Thundurus Zacian was the lead here. Against my opponent's specific lead. Even against Whimsicott stuff, I think it actually still could be okay. Although Whimsicott Dialga really messes up Thundurus Zacian in my opinion. Max Strike. Okay, so basically my new game plan is I am going to have to get damage on an Urshifu, ideally put it in Astral Barrage KO range, and drop Dialga's speed as well, but I got hard outlet here. The thing is, I think the main leads to cover for in this matchup are this duel as well as Whimsicott plus Dialga, which was what I was particularly afraid about. Thunderous Zacian against Whimsicott plus Dialga is not really that good because then you can just Tailwind and max Steel Spike turn 1 into Zacian. Or even worse, just threaten Zacian with a one-shot with like a Life Orb Max Quake. So, yeah. And this is the one downside of running, not running Focus Sash on the Indeedee. If we had Sash here, I actually think it would be a great setup for Belly Drum. But because Sash is on, yeah, because Sash is not on Indeedee, I just can't. And we kind of need it on Calyrex Shadow Rider, right? So it's like, you, at the end of the day, can only, you have to pick what the right Pokemon to run the right item on is. So. Okay, it is Steel Spike as well, yeah. Greedent actually takes that decently well and will heal back a considerable amount, but the problem now is I don't even know if I can knock out Urshifu with Astral Barrage after this Max Strike. And I still have to deal with Zacian in the back as well, right? That's like one of the biggest issues. So Greedent heals back a lot, which is awesome. Max Strike. Yeah, that does nothing. It may have been better just to go for Helping Hand there, but I was nervous about, like, if Greedent gets doubled up into one turn 1, I kind of just lose the game immediately. So, this is still potentially winnable, though, so let's think about it. I don't think Calyrex Astral Barrage is going to get the knockout. Now, Calyrex can Speed Swap, but doesn't really help out that much here. If I bring out Zacian, I do pressure with Sacred Sword, to which I would expect... Urshifu to protect. Like, I'm not going to win the game off playing safe right now, so I basically have to try to figure out some really aggressive line to potentially take. The big question this turn is, do I just target Urshifu anyway? What's their play? You got a defense boost. You could just attack with Urshifu here and trade Urshifu for Zacian, honestly. Okay, I'm actually going to Max Strike Urshifu and protect Zacian here with, like... Oh, okay, Urshifu switches. I'll take that. Into Whimsicott, okay. That's a good switch. It could be Sash Whimsicott, though, which would be really... Or, sorry, not Sash. Eject Button, which would be really interesting, because then I would just force it back out. Okay, there is Quake into, presumably, Dialga. Or, sorry, into Zacian. Good. That turn goes alright. This is an example, though, in which, like, the lead matchup dictates the battle so heavily, where I just got very heavily outled. And I just couldn't get Greedent set up. And that's exactly what you need to do if you're fighting against this team, right? Don't give me a free opportunity to just get Greedent activated. Oh, Sash is on Whimsicott. Okay. Oh, I was going to say with that, like, can I win the game because they can get a Tailwind up? But, crucially... I've dropped their speed twice on Dialga now. Okay, so like we expect what, Tailwind here, and then you can just Quake into the Calyrex slot, which would be Zacian. I don't see a clear path to victory with Whimsicott Tailwind from their end, as well as late game Zacian on their end, which is the main problem for me right now. I could have considered a double protect with Zacian. I actually think that's pretty interesting. Okay, Whimsicott Tailwinds. It's good damage from Sacred Sword, but it's really just not enough. Steel Spike comes out, though. Okay. Can we survive this? No, right? Okay. What's interesting, though, is... Is there ever a world in which I actually get Belly Drum off with Greedent? Is the question. Because basically the way this endgame is going to work out is like, okay, now I can bring out Calyrex. Yeah, Astral Barrage threatens a double KO, but then where do I go from there? I think my Hail Mary play here, though, is Greedent under Trick Room with +6 Earthquake sweeping everything. Because I think if I don't go with Trick Room here, I just lose the game. Right? So... like, the play I'm thinking of is literally to YOLO it and just Belly Drum with Greedent and Trick Room. +1 Spadef as well. -2 speed. Well, what's the alternative, okay? Let's think about that. Astral Barrage, double KO, sure. But then you just bring out Urshifu and Zacian and you have Tailwind up. Yeah. It's got to be Trick Room here. Belly Drum, Trick Room. We're just going to go for it. Okay. Double up onto Greedent and you win. Actually, double up into Calyrex would also work. The win con here was actually Roar of Time miss. If they miss Roar of Time, I actually think we win this game. The other possibility to consider there was to protect Calyrex. So we actually had a 10% chance to win the game, which is kind of cool, all things considered. Well, ooh, no, not necessarily, because Psychic Turn would expire, right? And then you just Urshifu Sucker Punch the Greedent. Yeah, because we only had one turn to terrain anyway. So even if they had missed there, I probably would have still lost. But the lead was just terrible for me here. I needed to bring something else. So very nicely played. Yeah, against Urshifu, especially because the Urshifu wasn't Focus Sashed either. Like, I think Thundurus would be the adjustment I would make. Thundurus plus Zacian in a best of 3 if I were expecting that lead again. But the thing is that that lead doesn't just win me the game because Whimsicott Dialga, which is the lead I was initially afraid of, applies a ton of pressure. So... that was a great example of how you can beat the Greedent, right? Make it so that I can't just set up Greedent on turn 1 with Belly Drum. Do not give me the opportunity to set up a free Belly Drum. And unfortunately, Urshifu, Dark Urshifu is literally the best Pokemon you can have, I think, in the format against that duo, because you can just pressure a Wicked Blow for a one-hit knockout onto Indeedee. So I guess now if I see Urshifu, if you see Urshifu in team preview with this team, maybe think twice about leading the Indeedee. I still felt okay with it, but I didn't feel like I had like a very safe answer in this one. Like I said, Thundurus Zacian is the adjustment I'd probably make. Thundurus Calyrex could work as well. The problem is that the Zacian is, or the Dialga is just an absolute monster there, regardless of what I can lead with comfortably here. Thundurus Indeedee is actually also really interesting against my opponent's specific lead because there's nothing stopping the max Airstream into the Urshifu slot on turn 1. And then I have the Psychic Seed on Indeedee, so it actually redirects attacks away from Dialga. So in a best of 3, that's also an adjustment I consider. Thundurus Indeedee leads Zacian Calyrex in the back. But yeah. Anyway, that was a really, really fun episode, and just really so glad to showcase what Greedent can do. And we played against a pretty diverse mix of teams here today as well. And turn 1s today were just absolutely bonkers, and I thought they were really fun. So thanks so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace. And actually, before we finish that episode, I actually just messaged Gio, and turns out it indeed was him. So it was really, really a pleasure to play against him. And as I mentioned, Gio made this absolutely amazing documentary about my Pokemon career a couple months ago. He's just such an amazing and talented guy. So I've linked his Twitter down in the description below as well if you want to go check him out. And yeah, it was really, really cool to play him. Like, he... played and was really especially good in the 2016-2017 era, so it's cool to see him get back into the game. And yeah, I hope he got to rank 1 with that. We'll see. But either way, thanks for watching, guys.